Our Torah portion for this week, Toldot, which means generations, opens with a recitation of the lineage of Abraham's son Isaac. As the many stories in Genesis remind us, we are the descendants of the countless generations who came before us. Each one of us who identifies as Jewish can recall an older Jewish relative or neighbor or friend who provided precious memories of Shabbat or Pesach or another Jewish holy day. Whether born Jewish or Jews by choice, our lives have been touched by someone who invited us to share a Shabbat dinner, taught us how to make matzah ball soup, shared a Jewish value with us, or passed down a special tradition. It's no exaggeration to say that these living experiences are what create the links in the chain of transmission of Jewish tradition. I used to teach a family education program at Temple Beth Sholom for the 5th grade families, whose theme was family stories. The drama which unfolded in our classroom was breathtaking. We saw 100-year-old candlesticks which had been smuggled out of the Ukraine, or a shofar which had been blown by a great-great-grandfather. We heard stories about the survival of families who made their way around the world on trains, boats, and airplanes, and ended up in Miami, or others who lived in hiding during World War II. We heard lots of love stories and stories of family reunions. We tasted recipes which had been handed down from generation to generation and which still live in Miami Beach kitchens. While he was an inmate in Dachau, a man named Herbert Zipper managed to create music for other inmates by making instruments for an imitation orchestra. He wrapped boxes to varying degrees of tautness and tapped on them. After the war, he went on to compose and conduct and organize concerts for underprivileged children. A few months before his death, a journalist asked him, "What is your most important goal?" Zipper responded, "To be a good ancestor." As we know from our own experiences with those who came before us, our descendants will learn from us. One of the most fascinating yet devastating things about living in Italy with my family was living in a city where only a remnant of Jews were left. What was perhaps most painful was learning how much destruction the aftershocks of Hitler wielded. For Jews not only perished in the brutal death camps, for many their Jewish identity perished after the war. I met many people who told me their family were now Catholics, but their grandmother had been Jewish, or a father who hid during the war, and after liberation, he rejected his Jewish heritage. And there was a rabbi I spoke to in The Hague who told me it was almost commonplace for people to learn about their Jewish heritage from their parents as their parents lay on their deathbeds. While our brothers and sisters in Europe are still recovering from the devastation of persecution, we in America are dealing with the repercussions of our freedom. We live with the unprecedented freedom to choose our identity, to live where we want, to study as we wish, and to marry who we choose. I thank God for these freedoms every single day. And yet, it is this very freedom which has set so many American Jews adrift. They identify as Jews, but don't connect to the Jewish community. Currently, approximately 70% of Jews in America do not affiliate with a synagogue, Jewish community center, or federation, or any other traditional Jewish institution. 70%, far more than half of the Jewish population. In our Torah portion for this week, we read about a famished Esau who trades his birthright for a pot of lentil stew. The Torah commentators chastise Esau for giving away what is rightfully his so readily and flippantly. As we reflect on this story, we must ask if our generation, too, is letting the needs and desires of the moment supersede our birthright, our legacy, and our heritage. In our tradition, the rabbis vilify Esau for spurning the birthright, but ignore how hard he worked to earn his father's blessing afterwards. Esau was a devoted son to his father and a forgiving brother to Jacob. We too must recognize that our Jewish friends and family who have chosen not to lead traditional Jewish lives may very much identify as Jews, but haven't found the right entrance to the tent. Part of our mission is to find new entrances, new ways of connecting, and as Jews standing inside of the tent, we need you to do as Abraham and Sarah once did. Embrace newcomers, regardless of their background. We need you to be good ancestors. Let us each remember how our Jewish souls were loved and nurtured by someone in our lives. May we be that person for someone else. Shabbat Shalom.